something clicked in Rome, and suddenly Iga Swiatek looked like the version of herself the entire tour has been waiting for. After months of frustration, quarterfinal exits, and questions creeping in from every direction, she didn't just win against Jessica Pegula. She erased doubt in under 70 minutes. A 6-1, 6-2 statement that felt less like a match and more like a warning. From the very first rallies, there was a different energy. Swiatek wasn't hesitant. She wasn't searching for rhythm. She was dictating it. Pegula, a player known for her calm consistency and flat striking, found herself pushed miles behind the baseline, scrambling for answers that never really came. What made this win so significant wasn't just the scoreline, but the timing. Swiatek had entered this quarterfinal carrying a strange burden for a player of her caliber. For quarterfinal losses already this season, each one feeding the same narrative. That something was slightly off in her game, her confidence, or both. But in Rome, on the clay she understands better than almost anyone, that narrative got flipped. Early breaks set the tone. Swiatek attacked Pegula's second serve with precision, opening angles that forced the American into uncomfortable defensive positions. Every rally felt like a chess move where Swiatek was already 3 steps ahead. And once she sensed control, she never let go. Pegula had come into this match in impressive form. She hadn't dropped a set in the tournament and even delivered a double bagel earlier, a rare and ruthless display at this level. She had also beaten Swiatek in their previous 2 encounters, which added another layer of intrigue. But none of that mattered once the match started. Swiatek's depth was the real weapon. Every ball landed heavy, deep, and with purpose. Pegula's flat strokes rely on taking time away, but Swiatek simply refused to give her any. After the match, Swiatek spoke about confidence, about how the last few weeks of work had finally started to show on court. She wasn't overcomplicating things anymore. She was trusting her instincts and, more importantly, trusting her patterns. That trust showed in the numbers. Before this quarterfinal, she had dropped just 4 games across her previous 4 sets in Rome, including wins over Naomi Osaka and Elisabetta Cacciaretto. That kind of dominance doesn't happen by accident, even if results earlier in the season suggested inconsistency. And yet, the deeper story goes beyond just one tournament. Swiatek has now reached WTA clay court semifinals in 8 consecutive seasons, a streak that quietly speaks louder than any single match result. It's a reminder that even in a down period, her baseline level on clay remains elite. She also reached her 50th WTA 1000 clay match here, and her record at that level on the surface now stands at 43 wins and just 7 losses. Those numbers don't belong to someone searching for form. They belong to someone who has built a career around dominance on this surface. History also places her in rare company. Only Serena Williams had more wins after 50 WTA 1000 clay matches since the format began in 2009. A stat that highlights just how quickly Swiatek has stacked elite performances. But perhaps the most revealing detail is not what she achieved today, but what she was escaping from. For quarterfinal losses earlier this season had created a mental barrier. In Melbourne, in Doha, in Indian Wells, and in Stuttgart, she had been stopped at the same stage, each time in different ways, each time adding another layer of frustration. That's what made this performance feel like more than just a semifinal qualification. Felt like a reset. Now she moves forward into a semifinal against either Elena Rybakina or Alina Svitolina, 2 very different challenges that will test her in completely different ways. But for the first time this season, Swiatek won't be walking into that match carrying the weight of unanswered questions from the quarterfinal stage. Instead, she arrives with momentum, clarity, and something that might be even more dangerous than form: belief. If this version of Swiatek holds, then Rome might just be the beginning of something much bigger, especially with Roland Garros just around the corner. Now she stands at a turning point in her season, and the tennis world will be watching closely to see if this performance was a spark or a full return to dominance. Beyond the scoreline, what stood out most was how Swiatek controlled the rhythm of every single point, especially on return games where she stepped inside the baseline and immediately put Pegula under pressure. That aggressive positioning wasn't just about power, it was about removing Pegula's time to set up her trademark flat forehand. On clay, time is everything, and Swiatek used every ounce of court awareness to stretch rallies into her comfort zone. There were moments where Pegula tried to redirect the ball early, but Swiatek's anticipation turned defense into instant offense. That transition, from retrieving to attacking, has always been the hallmark of Swiatek's clay court dominance. And in this match, it was sharper than it has been all season. Pegula's previous wins over Swiatek had come when she was able to dictate more freely from the baseline, but that window never opened here. Every attempt at control was met with deeper balls, heavier topspin, and relentless consistency. Even when Pegula tried to shorten points, Swiatek extended them just enough to force errors. Mentally, that kind of pressure builds quickly, and you could see it in the way Pegula started missing slightly earlier in rallies. Swiatek didn't need winners every time. She just needed control, and she had it from the first break point onward. Another key factor was her serve, which didn't necessarily produce aces in volume, but consistently set up her second shot advantage. She was landing first serves with improved placement, particularly out wide, which opened the court instantly. Pegula's return position kept drifting backward as the set progressed, a sign of how uncomfortable she was becoming. And once Swiatek sees that kind of hesitation, she rarely lets go of the advantage. That killer instinct, which some questioned earlier this season, was fully restored in this match. It's not just about winning points, it's about how she closes the door once she smells control. And that's exactly what separated this performance from her earlier quarterfinal struggles. Instead of tightening under pressure, she expanded her level, especially in the big moments. Now the conversation shifts because reaching a semifinal is one thing, but sustaining this level is another challenge entirely. Rome has often been a tournament where Swiatek finds her rhythm before Roland Garros, and this year might be no different. If anything, the confidence she is building here could be more important than the trophy itself. Because in Paris, where expectations rise and pressure multiplies, clarity of game plan is everything. Swiatek now looks like a player rediscovering that clarity at exactly the right time. She is not just playing better tennis, she is playing more intentional tennis. And when Swiatek combines intention with confidence, she becomes one of the hardest players to stop on clay. The semifinal will be a different test, but for now, Rome belongs to her resurgence story. Looking ahead, the biggest question is whether this level can carry forward beyond Rome and into the pressure cooker of Roland Garros. Swiatek has won in Paris before, and she understands better than anyone how quickly momentum can shift once the tournament begins. What makes her dangerous right now is not just her form, but the fact that she appears mentally unburdened compared to earlier in the season. Players on tour know that when Swiatek finds this kind of rhythm on clay, she rarely gives it up easily. The semifinal opponent, whether it is Rybakina or Svitolina, will try to disrupt that rhythm from the very first point. But the challenge against Swiatek on clay has always been the same, sustaining pressure long enough to actually break her structure. In Rome, she has shown that structure again, built on heavy topspin, smart positioning, and relentless movement. If she carries this into Paris, the rest of the draw will have to adjust quickly or risk being overwhelmed. Because when Swiatek is playing like this, matches stop being contests and start becoming statements. And after everything she has gone through this season, this performance in Rome might just be the moment that resets her entire year. Fans watching from the stands in Rome could feel that shift too, as every point began to carry the weight of a player rediscovering belief at the exact moment it matters most in a season. This is why performances like this matter far beyond a single match, because they reshape confidence, change expectations, and redefine how a player approaches the biggest stages. Especially when the clay season reaches its peak and every top contender is searching for that same feeling of control, momentum, and belief heading into Roland Garros. Rome delivers clarity, and Swiatek now stands ready for a defining European clay swing that could shape her season ahead.